All right, for our first ever video, we are making Italian pot roast and rigatoni. Stick around, it's going to be awesome. Okay, everybody, here's what we have in terms of ingredients. I've got a busy board here. We've got a big chuck roast on the bottom, some carrots, celery, onions. We've got way too much rosemary here. Our garden is just exploding with rosemary right now, so got a little bit extra. We'll use it later. This is some tomato paste, just a little can of tomato paste. Using organic here. You use whatever you have. Some red wine. It's a cab. This is a blend of chicken and beef stock that I had left over. Either will be great. And obviously salt and pepper. So what I'm going to start doing here is salting. It's going to look like I'm putting a ton of salt on here. A couple things though. This is like a powdered sea salt, so need a little bit more of it to penetrate. And this chuck roast that I have is almost 4 pounds, so this is a monster. So it's almost impossible to over salt a piece of meat this big. And then just a little bit of fresh ground cracked black pepper here. Our pepper mill's set to pretty fine. I do it this way just because we have young kids and they don't like big chunks of pepper and anything. Okay, so this is what we're starting with. All right, so pat the seasoning in and then move over to the pan here in a second. Dutch oven here. I've got my temp set to medium high. Let the pan get up to temp. Then put some oil in here. I'm using extra virgin olive oil just because that's what we had. But real important, let the pan get hot, let the oil get hot, and then put your meat in. So this is actually the other side of the chuck roast that you saw me salt and pepper before. So I gotta make sure that we season this side as well. So I'll salt this up here in a minute. And I hope the audio comes through, but you can probably see it simmering a little bit or shimmering at the bottom of the pan. It's really important when you put this piece of meat in that you hear it start to sizzle a little bit. If you don't hear anything or see anything, no harm, no foul, just pull the meat out. Wait till the pan gets hot enough that when you put your protein in there, and that pretty much goes for anything you cook in any recipe, if the pan's not hot enough to kind of hear it, and unless you're doing some type of specialty technique that makes sense for, make sure you can hear it and see it. So especially when you're browning meat like we're doing here, make sure it's hot. So salt and pepper, just like you guys saw me do on the other side earlier in the recipe. Just doing it this way now, just because it's a huge hunk of meat. Instead of flipping it over on the board, just makes sense to do it while it's sizzling in the pan. It's gonna have plenty of time here, rocking and rolling. You do not need a Dutch oven like I'm using here. Any high-sided pan that's oven safe will work. Okay. While that's going, I cleaned up and peeled the carrots, and I'm starting to get organized here on my board to start kind of prepping everything. And we'll put a different shot in here to show you how that goes down. But thinking ahead and starting to get some of the veggies and everything ready to add in the dish here as we go. Okay. Don't fiddle with the meat too much. Just let it go. Let the pan do its job. So you'll see me here in the video when it's time to turn it and what proper browning looks like. I do feel like I could have went a little bit longer on the browning on this, but you'll get the idea here as we move along. Okay, so I'm setting on my board here. I've got some carrots. Gonna check the meat. It's not quite as brown as I'd like it to be, so just putting it right back down, letting the pan do its job. Patience is a big thing here with a recipe like this. So here I'm just going to top and tail the carrots. Like I said, I peeled them already before, washed them and peeled them. And now, for this recipe and this preparation, I want to make sure everything has like kind of a medium dice, I would call it. And I'll show you guys how to do this here in a second. There are some versions of pot roast where I prefer having like huge chunks of carrot in it, and we'll do that type of video here in the future. But for this dish, this kind of Italian Stracotto that we're making, it's almost like a slash between a pot roast and a ragu. We'll put it over some pasta later. It'll be nice. Everything kind of like blends together and melds together when you do a nice little dice on the veggies like this. So I'm trying to just get everything into roughly the same thickness here. So the thicker parts of the carrot will kind of rough julienne. Not like a technically trained chef, so I'm not really sure what it's called, but you'll see as we get going here. Just trying to get everything into kind of chunky little matchsticks, and then I'll dice them up once that's done. So these ends don't really need to be diced up. We'll just chunk those in a sec. So here is just like a really non-technical, sloppy rock chopping technique. Just cut them any way you guys can. Make sure you use a sharp knife. That makes things easier. Another way to do this, honestly, would be to just take all this stuff, kind of hunk it up, and put it in a food processor until it gets pretty fine. Just kind of chunk it, like pulse it. That'd be another way to do it if you're not too confident or thrilled with like getting through all this with a knife. Kind of enjoy the chopping and the cutting part of this, so this is the way I'm doing it. Okay, once the carrots are done, I'm going to move to the celery here. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to look exactly like this does. This is not perfect by any means, but this is a really rustic dish. So the most important thing is to just chop some stuff up. We're going to get everything in the pan later. We're going to put it in the oven. It's going to spend a lot of time kind of cooking and blending together. It's going to be delicious no matter how you do these parts of it. So here's the garlic. This is going to look like a lot of cloves of garlic, but this is like a really small garlic clove. I'd say this is probably, or a small head of garlic. I'd say this is probably like 3 large cloves of garlic. Garlic's a bit of a personal thing. If you don't like garlic, just leave it out. I probably fall on the like garlic too much end of the spectrum, so this probably looks like a lot to some people, but here all I'm doing is taking off the root side of the garlic to get this started. So it's basically like a woody side, the non-pointy side, so just chop that little bit off to open things up. I have all the papers from the end here. Get these off the board, and then you'll see me start to kind of roughly smash these with the flat part of a knife. So I'm basically just putting the clove of garlic, the side of the knife, down on the table, and then I'll give it a nice safe pat with my hands, the palm of my hand. If you're not comfortable doing this, you could just do it with your hand or with something else, like the bottom of a pan maybe or something like that. But just be safe, whatever you're doing, doesn't matter. And here, once you pop it, once I give it a little smack, the papers just peel right off. So that's the way I like to do it. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ways to do it. I've also been recently getting into some of that, like that garlic in the squeezy juice, pretty good too. If you're gonna do that, I'd say maybe like a tablespoonful. When we started sauteing the vegetables, I'd put it in at that point. But here we've got some fresh garlic, so I'm gonna use it. And I'm keeping these whole. I'm not even gonna chop them up. This is a long cook. Those big hunks of garlic are going to be good, and like I mentioned earlier, I've got a bit of a garlic problem, so to be able to pull those out and eat them is going to be really nice. I like that. So flip the meat while we're going. You can see you're starting to get some color there. That dark brown is what we're looking for. That's going to be flavor. So I'd say the most thing that people get wrong in these scenarios is they don't brown meat enough. This may look pretty brown to some people, but I kind of feel like I could have went a little bit longer with this as well. But make sure you're getting some good color on there. That's the flavor that you're going to benefit from later. So one really big onion here, and just topping and tailing it. And then just peeling the outer layer. Kind of fell a little bit off the frame here. That's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to get both of these peeled. I'll show you what to do next here in a second. Clean the board as you go. Just keep yourself kind of organized. I think it's easier and safer to keep everything kind of somewhat clean. So now that we've got those 2 halves of the onion, I'm going to try and get a similar size dice as the carrots and the celery. And the easiest way I found to do that is to just kind of line the onion up. Here I'm trying to find an angle that I think you guys will be able to see from the video, but I think my hand's blocking this either way. I'll pick it up and show it to you in a second. But basically, without cutting all the way through the onion, just kind of put some slices in it, as you can see there. But keep the end of it intact, which will help when you go to dice it. So you can see I'm going kind of like 3/4 of the way through the onion and straight down, and leaving the root side kind of intact to hold everything together. Okay? And then you take each of those sides real easily and just spin them around and safely keep your fingers out of the way, and cut against the direction you just cut, to get some pretty easy dices here. My knife like desperately needs to be sharpened, which is why I got a couple stragglers here. It's not the cleanest, but I like to get pretty close to that root. Honestly, with a long cook like this, you can probably just dice the whole thing up and throw it in there. It's gonna wear that down, but I take that out, I put it aside, and use it in like a stock recipe or something later. So here I'm just doing the same thing to the other side. Keeping my fingers out of the way. And again, nothing needs to be perfectly sized. This is a rustic dish. Just kind of get it chopped up and ready to go. Next, I'm going to take a couple healthy kind of hunks of rosemary and tie it up a little bit. Mentioned earlier, we got a bunch of little kids and they don't like big hunks of rosemary in their dish, so I tie this up. I think the technical term for it's like a bouquet garni, but as you'll see here, I'm far from technical in the way we do this. It's probably the sloppiest thing tied up herb nest you'll ever see in a cooking video, but here we are, using some Christmas colored candy cane butcher's twine that I got about 5 years ago. I think I ordered it online, didn't realize how big the thing was, and this will probably last me for the next 200 Christmases or so I try and use it any chance I get. But no special way to do this, just try and wrap it up so a lot of the stems and everything don't disperse over the cook. It's really kind of painful to watch me try and tie this knot here with my big sausage fingers, but just try and get it secured. No wrong way to do it. Sure, there's a technical way to do it, and maybe we'll figure that out in a future video, but right now, just get it wrapped up so it's pretty secure. Meat's looking good. Now you want to kind of brown it on the outer edges as much as you can. Again, it's just imparting flavor. I should have done this a little bit better, to be honest. Then I give myself maybe a C+ in the browning of this meat, but I think you guys get the idea. Just trying to seal everything. And then I took the lid from the Dutch oven, just flip it over, and use that to rest the chuck roast in while we get some of the veggies going. Alright, now that the meat is out, we're going to start getting our carrots, onions, celery, and garlic in the pan while it's hot. Get it sauteing. So here I'm just picking everything up with a bench scraper. I like to use these to kind of throw everything in there. Pick it up easy and throw it in the pot. I like to use a flat wooden spoon here. It just helps kind of scrape all the good stuff off the bottom. A lot of those brown spots and stuff you see there, I think it's called fawn, but it's just a ton of flavor. We'll be picking a lot of that up later as well, especially when we start putting the wine in. But as these vegetables start to break down a little bit and sweat, the liquid's coming off of them is steaming, and it'll pick up some of that stuff on the bottom as well. And I just find the flat bottom spoon, wooden spoon, really helps you kind of feel that bottom of the pan. I really prefer it. So just salt and peppered as well. Getting some of the stock and wine into position. I'm going to start adding these in a bit. Before we do that, though, we are going to open that little can of tomato paste and get that in the pan ahead of time. Just keep moving these veggies. You don't want them to like brown or stick or burn or anything like that. They're gonna get plenty of time to cook. We just want them to sweat a little bit and open up. It's not gonna take long. Using tomato puree or paste in a can here. They do make it in like these little, they almost look like toothpaste tubes of tomato paste. Those are pretty easy to use in scenarios like this. These cans can be a bit annoying to try and get everything out of. The squeezy tubes are a little bit easier, but these are a little bit more cost effective. And we had some in the pantry, so that's what we're going with. So keep moving those veggies around. Don't let them sit in one spot for too long. We're really trying to sweat these, not kind of burn them or hard fry them or something, you know. We just want them to start softening up. Here we go with the tomato paste. I'd say this is probably about 2 big tablespoons. And what this is going to do is kind of bring everything together and thicken it up as you cook and bring a lot of good tomato flavor. So get everything you can out of these cans. Put a little stock in there too and swirl around, or some hot water helps too. But then what's real important is once you get it in the pan, you want to really mix it up. Make sure that tomato paste touches the bottom of the pan and cooks out a little bit. So this stuff can be pretty kind of sour. It's got like a weird taste if you were to taste a little bit of it like right out of the can or right out of the tube. So you want to let it cook out a little bit and get a little rusty colored, and that'll take some of that kind of tartness and harshness out. I think the technical term for it is cooking out. It actually doesn't sound too technical, but you do want to cook out the paste. I like to, when I'm using like tomato products and stuff too, is I'll put the spoon, and you'll even see me start doing it with the wooden spoon. Start putting it into the stock and the wine that's sitting here, just to dissolve anything off, so you're getting all maximum flavor, use everything, nothing goes to waste. So keep cooking out that tomato paste. It's really kind of hard to see here on the video, but it's going to go from kind of that bright red as it was coming out of the can to like a rusty maroon color. That's really what we're looking for. Doesn't take a lot of time. Seems kind of like an insignificant step, but it's something I'd really suggest. Kind of like the browning of the meat before. Don't skip this. These are the little things that make the difference. Don't let it sit too long. The paste can burn pretty easily. So keep it moving. A little bit of browning on the bottom of the pan, that's fine. That's going to be more flavor, and we'll get it out here as we add the red wine. So that's the next step here. This is going to bring a ton of flavor. Also, just like from a technical perspective, this is going to bring some acidity to the pan and help you clean the bottom of the pan. And cleaning the bottom of the pan really gets all those brown bits and all that flavor. It's like better than any stock cube you could think of. It's really the reason you want to go through the browning. So that the browning on the meat itself is going to release as it cooks over the next 3 hours or so. But getting this up off the bottom of the pan is really going to bring it into the stock, or the braising liquor that we're making here, a braising liquid. It's a really important step. So anytime you add acidity to a pan, it really helps take some of that fond off the bottom, which is awesome. All right, you want to make sure the liquor and that wine cooks out, and you'll know that when you waft it towards yourself. You don't really smell that alcohol anymore. Don't get too psyched out on that step. This is going to cook for 3 hours, so we're definitely going to cook any of the alcohol out of it. But good practice to get into. If you add wine or any type of alcohol to a dish and you start cooking it, Just make sure you don't smell it anymore when you cook the liquor completely off before putting in your next liquid, which in this case is the stock. So just mixing this up to make sure everything mixes well. Make sure all the veggies get distributed evenly. Make sure the wine and the stock have a chance to mix up. This is your time to scrape any last minute, fond or brown bits or anything off the bottom of the pan. Maximum flavor. Now put the chuck roast, nestle it into the liquid, dump in any resting juices because that's bonus flavor as well. And now we want to let this come up to a nice simmer, almost a boil, I would say, like a rapid simmer, before setting it in the oven for the rest of the cook. Toss your herbs in. I might have mentioned before, but if you don't have rosemary, thyme's great here, sage is great. I would just suggest doing the same thing. Tie it up if you can so it's not all over the dish at the end. Now we're just going to wait a little bit, let this come up to temp and start to kind of rapidly boil. And once you see a pretty hard simmer here, we're going to throw the lid back on it and toss it into the oven. And the hardest part is going to be over. So you can see it's starting to bubble here. It shouldn't take long. Everything in the pan's pretty hot. It's just a matter of getting that stock up to temp before it bubbles. Now throw your top on. Be careful when you're picking up your hot pan. And take it to the oven. In this case, I had to take it back out of the oven because I opened the oven and realized I didn't give myself enough room, so I had to just reset the racks there to make sure this big high pot could fit in. Now I set a timer for 3 hours and baste it about every half an hour as you go. Okay, so it's been 3 hours. Got the pot roast out of the oven and got it opened up on the cooktop here. Still blipping away. Got it on a low heat. Just to keep it rolling a little bit here. Diced up some parsley just to finish it with. And now I'm going to transfer, I broke it up a little bit too in the pan, as you can probably tell here. But I'm going to transfer most of the meat to a serving dish. And that will be like our meat course here. And I'm really trying to keep some of the juice and a little bit of the leftover in the pan. And you'll see why in a second here, to mix it up and make it like a pasta course as well. This is looking really good. I'm really pleased with this. It's almost like the perfect consistency. The meat's really obviously shredding tender. The liquid's reduced really nicely. If it's super watery when you take it out of the oven, you can just put it on the stove here and just kind of get it back up to a hard simmer, or with the lid off, and reduce the liquid pretty easily. Inversely, if it's dry, you can add some stock or some of this pasta cooking water as well. So here's what it looks like up close. Dropping a little parsley on there. Nice little finishing touch, little contrast to some freshness. Now the rigatoni's done. We've got a little bit left in this pan we're going to use as sauce. And we're going to take this pasta right out of the water and drop it right into this pan. Using pretty big rigatoni here. I'm not sure what size these are, but just cooked them based on the packaging, the package instructions. I think it's about 12 minutes. Gonna get these all in the pot here. Pretty simple. As you guys can see, this dish comes together pretty quick at the end. Pretty easy. Just gonna mix this up. I like using these big pastas because they trap their little meat and veggies and everything inside. Really holds up well and carries the sauce. So give that a little mix. Finishing here with a little parm and some more fresh cut flat leaf parsley. Really pulls everything together. Just make sure if you're adding cheese, you're doing it off the heat so it doesn't become all stringy. Mix it up. It's coming together real nice. Really pleased with this. So there you have it. You've got two great courses here, pasta and meat. Make this, share it with your friends, give the video a thumbs up. We'll see you guys next time.